A decade ago, most of Pakistan's media was state-run, and today the majority of the country's print and broadcast outlets are privatized and reflect diversified ownership. In today's segment of Inside Pakistan, our reporter Wang Guan tracks the emergence of the nation's free press and how it now drives social and political reforms.
Pakistan's media landscape has undergone dramatic changes over the past 2 decades. In the early 1990s, there were few independent newspapers, and Pakistan Television Corporation, or PTV, was the country's only TV broadcaster. These all changed in 2002. In a surprising gesture, then-President General Pervez Musharraf lifted the ban on private media. That move paved the way for commercial television and radio channels to grow substantially. By 2010, most of Pakistan's 77 national and regional TV channels were independent. Facing cutthroat competition as the only state-owned network, PTV was forced to adapt to stay in business.
Unlike a common perspective that PTV is somehow the handmaiden of the government, whichever government is in power, that's not true any longer, because we have to compete with the private media. That does not mean that we go overboard. What we do is that we try and give both sides of the picture. And people who were, first of all, only listening or watching the PTV, now they have the private FM channels, they have the private TV channels, which give a diverse opinion.
Besides the exponential growth of privately owned TV networks here in Pakistan, there has also been a springing up of independent newspapers. Take a walk around any major community here in Islamabad. Like this one, we find a newspaper and magazine stand. These newspapers have been very vocal and critical of the policies and even key government officials in Islamabad. And this wave of independent journalism has been contributing to the democracy, to the growing democracy of Pakistan. One such example was how Pakistan's media helped shape the political agenda in the run-up to the 2008 presidential election. In 2007, former President Musharraf controversially fired some 60 judges and suspended the Supreme Court's Chief Justice. Major commercial networks such as GeoTV accused Musharraf of abusing his power. Internet users also launched an online campaign through blogs and mailing lists criticizing the government's interference with the judicial system. The independent media coverage and online uprising were considered instrumental in bringing about President Musharraf's eventual resignation. In the following presidential ballot, commercial TV networks provided a forum for opposition parties to campaign and present their views. At the same time, more than 20,000 citizen journalists hit polling stations across the country armed with little more than camera phones. They played their role by monitoring the election to ensure it was free and fair. The country's media has also embraced its watchdog role by highlighting social problems, from exposing corruption and pushing religious tolerance to reporting violent attacks in a timely manner. Raheel Khan is a veteran reporter and head of the country's National Press Club based in Islamabad. He believes ordinary Pakistanis are reaping the greatest benefits from an independent press.
You have open debates on TV channels, and you can see that there are not linear information, but there is an open debate. There are discourses on which different analysts and maybe sometimes political leaders, they talk to each other, they don't agree, they agree, and there is this process of dialogue which helps the people to understand the issues in reality.
However, the country's media regulators have different views on the merits of a free press. They believe Pakistani reporters need better training.
They are not properly educated, particularly the electronic media. They have got this freedom so abruptly that they can't digest it. For the time being, their contribution is negative.
Despite being treated with wary suspicion by the government, Pakistan's fledgling independent media has driven significant social and political change over the past decade, and is expected to play a larger role in bringing the nation's future reforms. Wang Guan, CCTV, Islamabad, Pakistan.